On today's show, the FBI has issued a major warning about something you're looking at right now. Your smart TV could be spying on you, and it goes way beyond data collecting. You may have extended a personal invitation for hackers to come right into your home. I'll tell you how to lock it down. And your router sits there quietly doing its thing and getting you online. In this week's Komando DIY video, how to secure it and protect your devices and data in a hyper-connected world. Plus, in your Tomorrow's Tech Today, it's the world's first socially intelligent robot fitness coach. Meet Pepper, the humanoid robot who can tell jokes, show sympathy when you're tired, and get you motivated. Finally, saving money can be difficult, especially when you're a techie. So lucky for you, my digital life hack has you covered. I have 6 ways that people waste a lot of money on tech. You don't want to miss it. All this and more digital know-how here on Komando. While convenient, ride-sharing is not without a serious set of problems and risks. For Uber, there have been kidnappings, assaults, rapes, robberies, and even murders. Uber says that in 2018 alone, there were more than 3,000 reports of sexual assaults that happened during rides. And while you might think it's all focused on the drivers, 45% of those accused of the various types of sexual assault were actually the riders. More than 200 of those reports involved rape, and more than 90% of those accusations were made against the Uber drivers. Okay, so it's obviously a major problem. So what's Uber going to do about it? Well, they're going to make driver background checks, they say, more rigorous and add in-app emergency buttons and text 911 directly right in the app. They're also adding Uber employees to check in with riders if there's been an unexpected long stop. Okay, great, but your safety is also up to you, and that means double-checking it's actually the Uber you called that's picking you up and not an imposter. The app will have info on who is picking you up and what kind of car they're in, so be sure to check the license plate along with the make, model, and color of the car, and ask the driver to tell you what your name is. Remember that no matter how many checks and tech and new features that Uber adds, or even Lyft for that matter, your safety depends on you. If you bought a shiny new TV recently, the FBI says that you may have just put a Trojan horse directly in your home. You see, here's the problem. Since smart TVs connect to the internet, the apps to watch streaming services like Netflix are built into the TV itself. And guess what? The TVs have microphones built in too. Say a command and change the channel. You can adjust the volume or search for a movie. Most TVs also have cameras built in, so it can make suggestions based on who's watching. This brings me back to the FBI's warning, and I've been banging this drum for several years. Smart TVs are an easy target for hackers who could access your TV's camera and mic. And just think of how many TVs are in bedrooms. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. Search the internet with your TV's model number in the words microphone, camera, and privacy. And if you're still on the fence about buying a smart TV, consider sticking with the dumb version. Streaming boxes and sticks are cheap, around $20. And you can upgrade those without having to buy a whole new television. And by the way, disabling the camera is easy. Just place a small piece of electrical tape over that tiny lens. And while there are differing opinions on what fake news really means, there is no doubt that misleading stories are a huge problem online, especially social media. As you may have heard over the past few weeks, in one camp, you've got Google and Twitter stepping up to remove misleading ads. Finally, right? Kudos for them. Well, then you've got Facebook. And if there's ever a right way to do things, they're going to hang a left instead. You have to watch out. Misleading and outright fake political ads will continue to be allowed on Facebook, and they're going to grow. Mark Zuckerberg says Facebook is not into censorship. He said it's important that people see for themselves what politicians are saying so that they can make their own judgments. Gee, thanks, Mark. So that person in your life who likes to share political posts all the time, you might want to unfriend them now. As the 2020 election nears, it's come one, come all for the political ads, no matter if they're legit or fake. The only real thing is the money that Facebook is getting paid to place all those fake ads. All right, I'm sure you've heard about how people have been hurt by cheap phone charging cables. Sometimes those cases have even resulted in deaths. In late November, a woman told her story on a Facebook group called CPR Kids. This time, it had nothing to do with a faulty charger. It was all about a child simply being a child. One day, a woman was home with her young daughter, and in the same room, nearby, a phone charger was plugged into a power strip. She said the young girl took the other end of the charger that plugs into the phone and tried to plug it into another open outlet on the power strip itself. And in a split second, there was a pop, shooting sparks, flames, and black smoke, and the young girl was thrown several feet across the room. At the ER, she was treated for a bad electrical burn on her hand, and doctors were really concerned it could have also affected her heart. That luckily wasn't the case, and she was sent home the next day. Now she's recovering from the burn on her hand, and the moral of the story, now even though this mom had seemingly everything else in the house baby-proof, from baby gates to stove knob covers to standard electrical outlet covers, the risk of things like power strips didn't occur to her. And for a young child, they can be just as dangerous as those cheap chargers that you've heard about. And finally, the next time you're out and about, just look around. You'll see at least one person, probably 10 actually, wearing Apple AirPods. But as much as people love them, they have one major flaw. They're tiny and super easy to lose. Misplace even one, and what good is the other? And to replace just one AirPod, Apple charges $69 each. Well, at least one company is trying to revolutionize the way that we carry our AirPods around so they won't get lost ever again. Leather AirPod carrying straps that come in some fun colors. Made by a company called Trapper. Simply slide the straps around the base of each AirPod, and when you do, it turns your AirPods into regular old headphones. So you purchased a pair of AirPods for at least $130. Now add a $60 strap, and you're close to the $200 mark. Okay, before you decide to spring for these straps, go find the box your phone came in. Inside, pull out the earbuds that came with your phone, and look at that. You've got basically the same thing, but for free. All right, coming up next, don't let the hackers get you. Your Komando DIY video is only minutes away, and I'm going to test your tech IQ with this week's trivia question. We're just getting started on Komando. The internet is great, but being connected comes at a big cost, your privacy. In this Komando DIY video, we dive into the Internet of Things.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that an internet connection is a wonderful thing. If you have a smartphone, tablet, or laptop, then you know all about the amazing benefits of being connected. So what is the Internet of Things? The Internet of Things, or IoT for short, refers to taking all the things in the world beyond our computers and smartphones and connecting them to the internet. There are about as many IoT applications as there are stars in the Milky Way, and includes everything from security cameras, appliances, and health devices to a lab at NASA. These connected things are used to collect and transmit data, which has a lot of benefits. It gives people and businesses more control and insight over these products and environments. But the cost of this convenience is your data. Sure, you probably wouldn't care if a hacker saw that pint of Ben & Jerry's in your smart refrigerator, unless you were cheating on your diet. But that smart refrigerator is also a gateway to your network and all of your data. What's even more frightening is once a hacker is on your network, they can shut it down and demand a ransom to get your system working again. So what can you do to protect yourself from being hacked? Consider your wireless router the front door to your Internet of Things. Give your router a new name. Know the types of data your devices collect and how it's stored and protected. Use a VPN. This will help secure the data transmitted on your network. Check regularly for device firmware updates. Use caution when it comes to social sharing features. These app features can expose your location and let criminals know when you're not home. Never leave your smartphone unattended in public, and turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth if you don't need them. There's no doubt that IoT devices can make our lives more convenient and sometimes happier. But for a truly cosmic experience, you'll want to follow these steps to keep your network safe from those cyber criminals.
Joining us today is a person who has taught me the inner workings of something called header bidding advertising. It's a secret Google doesn't want you to know. And I'd like to give a big Kim Komando Show welcome to Heath Schaefer, founder of Niche Rev. And welcome to the show today, Heath. And I think we should start by explaining what exactly is header bidding to our viewers.
Well, header bidding is a way to make the ad buying process more transparent and more consistent, and allow advertisers to buy where they want to buy at the right price and allow publishers to get the true value for their inventory. and not just allow Google to control the whole process.
A lot of people don't realize that there are more advertising networks from Google. How many are there out there, really?
Oh, there are hundreds. I mean, between major exchanges and niche ad networks, when you utilize header bidding, you allow all of them, or the best ones for your audience, to have access to your inventory in a transparent way and compete directly with Google.
And so on your website, instead of just saying we want Google ads, we're going to let everybody out in the world go ahead and compete for that space. Does it take longer for those ads to actually show up on your website?
A very slight delay, but through the right technology, we really control that. What's amazing is this entire auction process happens in under 1 second. So we can say to the marketplace, hey, Kim's on this website. How much will you pay to show her an ad? And instantly we get prices from all over the world and all over these exchanges, and we can get that best price for the market to the advertiser and to the publisher.
See, that's really amazing to me that all this happens in just a split second. How much more money can you make if you get into this header bidding than just if you are just using Google ads?
Oh, it's actually really incredible. Depending upon how sophisticated someone's Google implementation is, it could be anywhere from an immediate 30% lift to a 400% lift.
What are some downsides of it?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, there is that issue of latency, that if you try to do too much with this auction process, you can impact the user experience on your website by making it take too long or interfering with content load. You also, if you're not careful with which networks you let into your market, you can open yourself up to malicious ads getting through to your users. So there are a lot of things that a publisher has to manage on a technical side to do this responsibly and successfully.
Now, I find your story about Cake Central really fascinating. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Cake Central is where we first learned how to do all this ad monetization. Cake Central was founded in 2004 and was just a huge community site for cake decorators, and it still is. It's an amazing platform for us to experiment for our clients, to test all the best practices for advertising and delivery, and make sure that we really know that something's going to work before any of our clients ever have it on their site.
And so when we start talking about online advertising, so many people are totally freaked out about all the tracking that happens. And obviously, in order to serve targeted ads, we need to have a whole bunch of tracking. If somebody gets rid of their cookies or they're using an ad blocker, how does that affect this header bidding process?
Well, the ad blocker, of course, blocks it completely, as it should with any regular programmatic ad. The cookies, when you clear them, it's going to affect the publisher in that they're going to get paid less money to show you an ad because now the exchange doesn't know who they're bidding on. And that's really a major issue right now, because we're seeing all these laws passing that are affecting the ability to provide this identifiable information to the ad exchanges. It's actually a major thing we're dealing with in the industry at the moment is how do we keep publisher revenue up while also being compliant with all these new data privacy laws that are coming into play?
And how exactly do you do that, Heath?
Well, there's consent management platforms that we have to integrate that allow you as a user to consent to have your information provided because you want targeted ads. A lot of people really do prefer to see an advertisement that is highly relevant to them, and so they're willing to have their information shared. When people don't want to show or share their information, then we need to fall back to what's called contextual advertising, and that's when an advertisement is based on the content of the website, not the user who's viewing it.
And so are there any ads coming down the pike that are going to be like more annoying than anything else we've seen before?
Oh, I'm sure there are. I mean, that's the thing, is we experiment with user interface experience. Sometimes, the creative agency thinks that an ad experience is wonderful, and then it turns out the users don't like it and they complain about it. And so it's always kind of this experiment to figure out what will get the brands and the advertisers return on investment for their advertising dollars and get your attention without ruining your experience as you consume the content at the website.
Like we've talked about, off the air, is that, people don't like the ads, but they don't like to pay for the content either. So there's something going on here. And thanks for taking the time to share some of your insider tricks with us here on the Kim Komando Show today, Heath. Pretty amazing stuff. And now it's time for your weekly tech trivia question. You see, every week I test your know-how to see how much you really know about the history of tech, but you have to promise not to use any of your smart devices for help. Okay, ready for this week's? Here we go. When you search for something online, most people turn to Google because, let's be honest, you aren't using Bing. But back before Google was the powerhouse it is today, we had other options for our search engine needs, and Yahoo was king of the hill. But what many people don't know is how this company got its now iconic name. So the question is, why is it called Yahoo? It's A, a fun word, B, the founder's initials, C, a free domain, or D, an acronym? Well, stick around. I'll have the answer at the end of the hour. That's right. It's time for Brand New or Not True, where we present to you, the home viewer and listener, 3 products. 2 are fake, 1 is real. And back for another round after some big wins is the chairman of the board. Yes, our very own Barry.
Thank you. I don't recall the big wins.
You had 1.
I had 1.
Yes.
So you have ballooned that into a series of big wins.
Well, because it sounded better than like, okay, so you lost 82 times,
Right.
but you won 1 time. Now, so this week
Let me just interrupt you for a moment, if you don't mind. This week I'm going to, because I'll have the same chance of winning and losing, I'm going to pick number 2.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm just going to pick number 2.
I don't know if I'd do that.
I'm going to pick number 2. I may change, but I believe that the chances of my winning are no different than if I pick now or if I sit through the entire laborious game.
Really? Okay, so, these are 3 products.
Yep.
I decided that this week we would focus on brain health. Brain health. Technology that will help us, to be smarter and more productive. Okay, so are you ready?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Just heard me talking about the Apple AirPods and earbuds and stuff. You've seen them, like Bose makes them. You have a set of those Philips, Beats by Dre, and all the other knockoffs. But what if your earbuds helped you be more productive and less distracted with technology? Mm-hmm. And that's the premise of something that's called Focus Buds. And the way that they work is that embedded biosensors monitor your brain activity and they remind you to refocus whenever you're distracted. So these are like things that you put in there. And it's known as something called neurofeedback. And it's a big word, I know, neurofeedback. It trains your brain to better focus, Barry, and to block out distractions over time. Because, sometimes you'll actually look at me and you say, you are totally ADD, right?
No, I don't actually say that. I say, you weren't listening to the last, day and a half of conversation, and you missed certain things.
Well, but I totally got it. And I do like 8 things at once.
Really? Yes. Okay.
And I don't understand why you can't do 8 things at once.
Right. Because I can, but I don't want to.
Okay, so what these Focus Buds, that's probably true, is that they'll put you in something called a flow state. Do you know what a flow state is?
Not
Ever heard
really,
of that?
no.
It's when your brain is so hyper-focused and immersed in a single task that hours go by without you even noticing.
Yes.
So conceptually, you could put on these neurobuds and you'd be sitting there and you would just not think of anything else. You wouldn't check your phone. You wouldn't do anything else except clean out the garage. Because you'd be so hyper-focused on getting that task done.
Just to tell you, there is no flow state that is flowing enough for me to just focus on cleaning out the garage.
$269.
It's, you know what? If it hasn't been invented, it's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay.
How about, are you ready for number 2?
Ready for number 2, yes.
It's been said that we only use 10% of our brain, but that's just a myth. Our brain health is dependent upon what we eat, exercise, and of course, the quality of our sleep. NeuroBoost is an all-encompassing technological solution comprised of bite-sized brain health supplements and an app that will challenge your brain and then track your progress. Here's how it works. You get 30 days worth of daily supplements to improve memory, alertness, and focus, and so you'll feel sharper. And just a few minutes a day for 3 brain games in the Neuro app, that's all it takes. Every day you get a fresh mental workout to keep you challenged. And keep those skills, Barry, that matter most.
Right.
Okay, you can use the app any time of day, anywhere.
Yes.
It's $19.99 a month, plus they have in-app purchases. They also offer NeuroSleep in order to help you sleep.
See, if those headphone things you were talking about were real, I then could go and use that app while I'm supposed to be focusing on the garage and see if it all works.
Because it gives you 30 days worth of
Well, I'm
daily
going to change the. When I started off, I said it's going to be number 2. right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's definitely not going to be number 2 now.
Okay, this
Number
is
3.
number 3. Are you a morning or an after lunch, let's get things done and take names type of person? Well, there's no right or wrong answer. That's the premise of Brain Drain, a sensor-filled skull cap that you wear that communicates with an app to pinpoint your most productive times of day.
No.
After you wear, let me finish.
Okay.
After you wear the Brain Drain cap for 14 days, along with documenting all of your activities in the app, your most productive times are notated on a daily calendar within a 3-minute variance.
You mean a person wouldn't already just know what their most productive times are?
No, some people are just entering the workforce. So if you're a morning person as verified by the Brain Drain system, that's when your phone would not allow you to check any of your social media, so that this way you're able to kick butt and get that raise. I mean, who cares if your coworkers make fun of you? You're the star. You are being the most productive person. They offer 2 different plans, $199, you buy the cap with unlimited access to the app, or you can rent the cap for $14.99 a month, again, with unlimited access to the app.
Right.
I suggest that you buy the cap because, who knows who else had that cap, the rental cap. It's kind of like bowling shoes. I mean, it's always gross when you put your feet into bowling shoes.
Okay.
So you have number 1 is the Focus Buds.
Right.
Number 2 is the Neuro Boost. And 3 is the Brain Drain.
Okay, it's not the Brain Drain. It's just not the Brain Drain. Number 2, I thought it was going to be number 2 just because of chance, but I'm gonna scratch that and I'm gonna say the all signs point to number 1 as the real, actual, honest to goodness focused product.
And what's the name of the product?
I have no idea, but it's a thing that refocuses you when your brain drifts. I was drifting during your description, as a matter of fact. But if I'd had those, it would have refocused me, and I know enough to know to pick number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Final answer?
That's it.
Let's ask.
Barry is 100% correct.
Yes.
Again, great job,
Introducing
Barry.
Focus Buds, the world's first pair of productivity-boosting earbuds, helping you enter the flow state at will using EEG neurofeedback technology.
I got 1. That's
You're on
2.
fire.
That's 2 things that I've won. Now, the problem is, a guy like me, a young guy like me, I put those things in, right?
Yeah.
And I walk into, I don't know, a restaurant and a bar, whatever, and the nice waitress will see those things in my ear and say, "Would you like to order something to drink?"
Hey, can I tell you an insider secret?
All right.
Okay, so when we were talking before the show and they were saying, like, which one's going to be the real one? I said, it's going to be number 2. So when you came out and said it was number 2, I moved number 2 to number 1.
Did you really?
Yes.
So there's some really nasty stuff going on.
I hate to lose.
Behind the scenes.
I hate to lose. I'm so competitive. Well, you know what? You did, let me give you kudos.
Thank you very much.
You got like 2 in a row. That was pretty awesome.
Happy holidays.
Yes, anytime. The world's first fly and drive car recently made its debut with a top speed of 200 miles per hour in the air and 100 miles per hour on the ground. And it's all part of your Tomorrow's Tech Today on Komando. Where are all the flying cars that we were promised in the future? Well, now you can reserve one. The world's very first fly and drive car recently made its debut at a Miami event. The Pioneer Personal Air Landing Vehicle, or PAL-V, is quite a sight. It almost looks like a car from the side view, but it has 3 wheels with a large attachment resting on the top. That part unfolds into propellers for flight. It only seats 2 people, but it has quite a few noteworthy specs. First of all, this one bucks the electric trend and runs on plain old gasoline. It'll have a top speed of 100 miles per hour on the ground, but it'll double that in the sky after the 10-minute process of switching from a car to the gyrocopter. It goes as high as 12,500 feet. If you want your very own PAL-V, you can pre-order it right now for an expected 2021 release. A couple of things to consider, starting with you'll need both a driver's and a pilot's license. Oh, and also quite a bit of cash. The world's first fly and drive car will set you back $600,000. Yeah, it's sky high in more ways than one. All right, we've had drones for years, but it takes a while to get them up in the air. With this future tech, drones are launched from a cannon mounted on the bed of a moving pickup truck. It's called the Streamlined Quick Unfolding Investigation Drone, but obviously that's a mouthful, so we just call it SQUID for short. And as the name implies, it's a foldable drone. In just 200 milliseconds after launch, the SQUID's rotors kick in and open. Then, in less than a second, it's stable and hovering, ready to go wherever it needs to go. It's all part of a plan to obviously launch drones more quickly, and it was designed by a team from both Caltech University and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Why would anyone need a fast launch drone? Well, for one, think about its potential uses for first responders during an emergency situation, when every second counts, like a major fire or accident, or to quickly get to an unreachable area. They could also be handy for military uses and space exploration. Getting my drone stuck in a tree wasn't the worst thing that happened to me in the last week, but it's definitely up there. All right, while prices for TVs in the 40 to 60-inch range have gotten more affordable, costing a few $100, you'll be paying thousands more if you're wanting something bigger than, say, 70 inches. And that's where projectors come in. They're much more cheaper when compared to similar-sized TVs, and they've been quietly getting tech upgrades over the years. On the other hand, they can be a hassle. You have to mount them to the ceiling, feed cables through the walls, and only use it when it's dark. Now, a lot of those limitations are going away because of a new short-throw projector. A few companies make them, but this one is worth taking a look at, especially if you haven't heard of Yoton technology. Check out the iLumini 4K LED Ultra Short Throw Projector. It'll project a 100-inch screen up to 300 inches in extremely bright 4K. The best part is that the short throw feature is wonderful. No mounting, just set it on a table in front of the wall. You can even put it about 4 inches away from the wall to get a 100-inch picture. Just remember, it's all fun and games until you realize that you purchased more than your wall can actually handle. All right, it's no secret that a personal trainer is super handy when you're working out. They tell you how to up your game and give you motivation along the way. Forget humans. This future tech puts that power in a robot. Meet Pepper, the personal trainer made to motivate you to reach your goals.
The estimated speed of a T-Rex is 27 miles per hour. You know, just saying.
Yeah, Pepper. What about if we run for 1 hour? I bet I could beat it. It's pretty good short distances.
Almost there. I know you've got this.
Okay, the sound of the voice leaves a little to be desired, but at least its quote-unquote heart is in the right place. Pepper is supposed to keep you going, tell you jokes, even sympathize when the situation calls for it. That's because this robot was trained by a real personal trainer. And Pepper's interactions with people in a recent study over in the UK were based on metrics like their heart rate, fitness level, and how fast they were running. It would use that info along with things like mood and general personality to determine when to offer encouragement and praise or to tell a joke or two. The research study involved 10 people training for a 5K who ranged in age from their 20s to their 60s and went on for 3 months. And the reviews seem to be positive, but Pepper isn't ready for primetime quite yet. Give it at least a year. But a robot with speech capabilities, that's saying something. Next, I'll talk to the dad who took over his daughter's Instagram account as punishment, but it didn't quite go as she planned, and it's only on Komando. All right, what would you do if your teenage daughter tried to sneak boys into an overnight slumber party? Well, for these parents, they weren't sure which would hurt the most, taking away their daughter's phone or her access to social media. So they let their daughter choose. She could either surrender her phone for an entire month or give her parents full control of her social media accounts for 2 weeks. So like most teens, she decided to go for the shorter punishment, but the outcome wasn't quite what she expected. And joining me here on the Kim Komando Show to tell us exactly what happened is the mastermind of clever consequences, the dad extraordinaire, Larry Sumter. Larry, welcome to the show. So I read that after the first day, your daughter was pretty much begging you to take her phone away.
Oh, yeah, she was. So after the first day of the consequence she chose, she came to the car and was just really just wanting to take the month instead of the 2 weeks, even after the first post.
Okay, so tell us about your posts. What was that first post?
The first one we did was a TikTok video that we ended up putting on Facebook to the Milkshake song.
One of my favorite is of you in the crop top.
Oh, yeah.
You look pretty hot in it. So the whole idea was that these were posts that would totally embarrass your daughter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And was that result granted? I mean, is that what happened?
Yeah, it actually happened pretty quick, even after the first one. But once we really got into it, and like that crop top video, she was really embarrassed. But what's funny is all of her friends absolutely loved it and didn't want her to get her phone back.
That is funny. And so what happened with her followers? Did she lose followers or did she gain followers?
She gained so many followers. I mean, I think her Instagram went from like 800. She's up to like 15,000 followers now.
Are you still on the account?
No, I'm not on it. I have to keep making her post stuff though, because she's like, I don't want to post anything. So I try to get her to do a once a week with me. Her and I post something together though.
Well, because it sounds like, you stumbled upon something for you now.
Right? I never thought I would be a social media star or anything, but it kind of just happened.
And so when she got her phone back after the 2 weeks and she got her social media accounts back, rather, did she take down the posts or did she leave them all up there?
No, she left them all up. She's left them up, and there's still people commenting from all over the world on her Instagram posts.
What was the first thing she did when she got her phone back and her accounts back after those 2 weeks?
The first thing she did was she posted a picture, like a baby picture on her Instagram that said, I'm back and I'm sweeter than ever. # make choices.
That is good. And so what was your favorite post that you put on her account?
Oh man, there were so many of them. Probably my favorite post on Instagram was the picture we posted where my wife actually dressed me up like a Visco girl with the teal shirt, the scrunchies on my arms, and with the t-shirt that said Save the Turtles. That's probably my favorite Instagram post.
I especially like the accent of the wig. That was really a touch right there.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that wig.
And so is that the post that garnered the most results?
Actually, the first video got the most views as far as the videos go. It's I think almost 2 million views now. However, on her Instagram, that picture and then the one of me, I'm wearing a pink tank top with a flamingo, that got a lot of attention too.
Has she learned her lesson? Is she on the straight and narrow right now? Has she gotten into trouble again?
No, she's definitely on the straight and narrow because every day she'll do something just really little that doesn't warrant any punishment, but I'm like, I'm going to take your phone. So she knows that we're just looking for stuff now.
Do you have any closing words for parents who may be faced in the same situation? Because I think it was actually very clever of you to let your daughter choose.
Yeah, we always tell our kids life is choices. So, that's why we kind of let her choose, because whatever she chooses, she's going to have to live with it, which is life. So, that'd be my only thing is just let her, life is choices. And these days you have to be creative in your punishment because social media is so big and they have access to so many things.
You got it. Hey, Larry, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing that hilarious outcome of your social media takeover account on your daughter. Now back to the trivia question I asked earlier. Yahoo may not be the big name it was years ago, but why did the site's founders choose that name? Was it because Yahoo is A, a fun word, B, the founders' initials, C, a free domain, or D, an acronym? The answer is D. Yahoo was originally created back in 1994 and was first called Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. As you can imagine, that wasn't exactly catchy, and luckily they figured it all out. So they chose Yahoo as a homage to the way that the algorithm worked, and the rest is history, kind of like Yahoo itself. And what did Yahoo stand for? Are you ready for it? Yet another hierarchical, officious oracle. That's it. Is your smartphone listening to you? The answer is yes. In this week's DIY Security, I'll tell you how to make it stop. Next on Komando. All right, it's time now for our digital life hacks tip. And every week we put one of these together for you because, let's face it, tech does not really come with a manual and you can't Google everything. And amazing new technology comes out all the time. It's always better. They say it's smaller, it's faster, it's smarter, but is it all worth the money? Now, if you believe all the ads and hype, life would be so difficult without the newest, well, just fill in the blank. And tech companies make a killing on accessories too. You buy a new phone and well, you need a case. Your tablet wouldn't be the same without a keyboard and cover. And you might as well get another battery charger while you're at it. And it seems like Amazon wants to upsell you a warranty on anything you put in your cart. So, what's legit and what's worth the money? Let's start with the not so exciting but very important topic because all tech needs them. We're going to talk about cables. That's right. When it's time for you to get some new cables, if you have an Apple gadget, you want to look for something that has the MFI on the box or somewhere within the posting about it online. That means it's made for iPhones, iPads, and iPods. And that charger is certified by Apple. Those cheaper cables aren't. For Android, you want to make sure it has USB-C specifications. Now, HDMI cables, you can buy a cable for $15 or you can buy a cable for $100. And let me tell you, after all these years, I've been talking about tech and using HDMI cables. I've never noticed a difference between the $100 cable and the $15 cable. Number two is don't let the sales folks fool you, okay? I mean, do you really need to have insurance on your brand new iPad? I mean, what about gadget failures? Consumer Reports learn they don't really fail during the extended warranty period. Most gadgets fail within the first year, so always keep that in mind. And check with your credit card company before making a purchase because so many credit cards have extended warranties and extra benefits. And sometimes we start looking at our gadgets and we think, especially with the new iPhones, I need to have that new iPhone. Well, maybe not. Odds are your phone, your gadget, whatever you're talking about will last for another year. Just keep the operating and systems and the apps all updated. And now what about expensive software? You don't spend $50 a month for Photoshop. You can use a free version like GIMP. It has everything in there, as well as if you were just like, Photoshop is too heavy for me and I don't want to use GIMP. What you want to look is at some other software like Pixel X, and that's for beginners, and it does a lot of the same things. Microsoft Office, if you don't want to buy that, there's free versions available, as well as you can always use Google Docs. If you haven't used Google Docs, I know many of you haven't, is that it has a lot of the features, if not maybe even a little better, because if you're collaborating on a document, you can have all these people just work on it together with you and can see all the changes. Now, don't rent it when you can actually buy it. That's number 5 on our list because that gets into modems and routers. And you might be charged $10 a month to rent a router from your provider. That's $120. 2 years, $240. Well, you can buy a new one for about, say, $100, $120, and it's pretty darn good, so you can save some money there. And in-app purchases. I know it's pretty tempting when you're playing a game or you're sitting there in Candy Crush and they say, oh, you're about to die unless you go ahead and buy some more lives. Just say no to that. Some interesting items that cross my desk and screen that you need to know about, first of which is think about the last police chase that you saw on television. The bad guy was running away from the police. They were chasing after him. Well, those days may be over to something called the Bola Wrap. It's a non-lethal gadget designed to restrain someone or keep them from running away. It's something like you'd see like in a Batman movie. The device discharges an 8-foot Kevlar tether cable that wraps around a person's legs or torso. It has some similarities to a taser. It's supposed to work from a distance up to 25 feet, and once fired, the cable travels at more than 500 feet per second. It connects to a person using 2 small barbs. Several police departments in Southern California are testing the Bola Wrap, including the LAPD. After training, about 200 officers will carry them in a 3-month trial. Testing has begun in other cities. In October in Fresno, an officer used a Bola Wrap to apprehend a stabbing suspect. But all this reminds me of a joke. What's the difference between Batman and a criminal? What's the difference between Batman and a criminal? Anybody? Batman can go out at night without Robin. Okay. All right. Do you remember when Samsung released their first folding phone? Everybody was reviewing saying, it didn't take long for the whole thing to break. Well, now the Galaxy Fold is here, less breakable screen or not. It's $2,000. Well, if at first you don't succeed, try to sell something different. According to reports out of South Korea, Samsung is already hard at work on the Galaxy Fold 2 that might launch along with the upcoming Galaxy S11. It's all happening this February. And that's not even the big news. Rumor has it that the Galaxy Fold 2 could come priced in at less than $900. Is it cheaper parts, fewer features? What would make it $1,000 cheaper than the current model? We're not clear, But I mean, the upcoming resurrection of the Motorola Razr phone, $1,500. Crazy. Not sure we're going to be flipping for this new phone. All right, it's time now for our DIY security tip. Every week we put one of these together for you because it's so important, especially in today's cyber age. And it happens to everyone. You're talking about something that you want to buy, like a new set of Apple AirPods. Then you open your phone and there are ads on social media for, oh my gosh, would you believe AirPods? How did this happen? It's an uncanny experience, and millions of people have reported these strange coincidences. And it took a bit of time for legal experts and marketing specialists to confirm, but yes, your phones and your smart speakers, well, they're spying on you. The practice of using voice data for marketing, though legal, it's sketchy, it's uncomfortable. And if you want to stop your phone from eavesdropping, here's what you need to do, starting with maybe you said it was okay for them to listen in the first place. Because a reporter for Vice performed this experiment of just how closely that smartphones listen to our conversations. And he spoke pre-selected phrases twice a day for 5 days in a row. He looked on his Facebook feed, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, he started seeing ads about going back to the university. And then he changed his phrase to cheap shirts. And then he saw, well, would you believe ads for cheap shirts all over his social media? And he didn't type it in, he just said it. And so here's the deal, is that in your various social media apps, you have user agreements, and they explicitly state that recorded audio may be used for targeted advertising purposes. Okay, these companies are pushing the boundaries, but here's what you can do. First of which is that you want to deactivate some of your smart speakers. You want to turn them off, you want to put them on mute, disable OK Google, deactivate Hey Siri, and you want to disable the mic access for apps. That's the most important tip that I can pass along to you. Because when you install these apps, odds are you said, yeah, it's okay for you to use the camera. Yeah, it's okay that you turn on my microphone. And so we have the steps on how to do that. For iPhone, you're going to go into your settings. And the same for your Android, but you're going to go into Application Manager. Now, just keep in mind that they say turning off sometimes the microphone in these apps will turn off some features like live video if you're on Facebook. But we've got all the disclaimers and things that you know all written out for you. And the one place to get all that information is to look no further than the official homepage of the Kim Komando Show. That's Komando.com, of course.
Standby control, cue Kim.
We all worry about Google and Facebook tracking us, but what about our employers? I have some alarming details coming up next here on Komando. Everyone seems to carry a little anger that Google, Facebook, and other big tech companies track what we do, but most never consider that their employer is watching everything too. Nearly 80% of all employers routinely monitor their employees, keeping track of sent and received email, employees' office calendars, inter-office communications such as Slack, and every single website, along with how long they're on the site. Companies may also track what you do on your phone while it's using the company's Wi-Fi network. Companies are looking for trends in employees, when they log in and out each day, and what they're doing during work hours. And get this, some larger companies are turning on the tiny webcams built into every computer to monitor and track facial expressions, moods, and frustrations. Now, all of this is perfectly legal because employers disclose this tracking policy when each employee is hired. So even though you might be upset that Google bought Fitbit so they can track your steps online as well as offline, your boss may be doing the same thing. Hey, keep your digital know-how going. Find your local radio station that broadcasts my show, along with more DIY how-tos and tips, videos, free news alerts delivered from me to your email address, along with the Komando community, where you can blog and ask your tech questions on our website. That's Komando.com. And hey, thanks so much for watching.